Welcome to Here Tutoring. This video is an introduction to and overview of the ACT English test. So, what do you need to know about the ACT English test? In this video, we're going to cover 4 key things you should know about the ACT English test. First, it's the first section of the ACT. It's 45 minutes long and has 75 questions. There are 5 passages with 15 questions each, and there's no significant difference between the 5 passages, other than that they're different passages. The passages don't have any particular emphases on a theme or a grammatical concept or anything. Now, here's a breakdown of the concepts that will show up on the ACT English test. According to the ACT website, there are 2 major categories of concepts on the ACT English test. Usage and mechanics, which is basically grammar, and rhetorical skills, which is basically effective writing. Now, more specifically, here's the breakdown of each of these 2 categories. For the usage and mechanics section, there will be 10 to 15% or 7 to 12 questions on punctuation, 15 to 20% or 11 to 15 questions on grammar and usage, and 20 to 25% or 15 to 19 questions on sentence structure. For the rhetorical skills section, there will be 15 to 20% or 11 to 15 questions on strategy, 10 to 15% or 7 to 12 questions on organization, and 15 to 20% or 11 to 15 questions on style. The second thing you should know about the ACT English test is that it's generally considered the easiest test because it's the least rushed and because a good number of the answers just seem to be common sense and sound right. You probably won't run out of time on the English test, and this probably won't be the test that'll really stress you out. However, the third thing you need to know about the ACT English test is that since it's the easiest test out of the 4 tests, it's also graded the most strictly. You'll need to get a higher percentage of the questions correct to get the same score as on the other tests. So, even though most students feel pretty good after taking the ACT English test, many students are surprised to find that they actually got a lower score than they expected, simply because the expectations for the ACT English test are higher. Fourth, it can be very easy to rush through the ACT English test and make a lot of careless mistakes. A lot of students finish the English test way too early and then just sit at the end, wasting a lot of time that could have been spent making sure their answers were correct or going back over questions they weren't quite sure about. One reason why a lot of students don't go back over their answers after they finish the test is because they don't know which questions they should check over, and they don't want to check over every single question. This is why it's really important to have a good system of marking questions to come back to, which we'll talk about in a future video. For now, let's just say that you should try to use the most of every single minute that you have, especially if you finish really early. If you just start going through some of your answers, there's a relatively good chance that you might find a mistake you made, and correcting just 1 extra question could raise your score for the ACT English test. Now that you know the basics of the ACT English test, it's time to look more specifically at some of the best strategies to use for this test. In the first ACT English strategies video, we'll talk about a principle that the ACT just loves to test, which is that less is usually better. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in that video.